What's up, everyone? See live. I'm Anthony DJ in New Jersey. That guy, he is in Southern California. Our resident PhD, Magnus. Magnus, how are you?
I'm good, man. We're like
living
full tilt. Living to the full, right? It's crazy. It's crazy that we already January is already gone.
I know February,
and
bro.
February just started, and February is a short month, and that will fly through.
It's already more light every day, and an extra minute of light.
Yep. I actually started to notice it as well too. It's interesting.
Nice.
It's gonna start going faster as well too.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with the winter, but let's talk about today. And folks, always check with the healthcare professionals. But let's talk about genes. And I don't mean Levi's jeans. I mean
genetics.
Genetics. You know, it's funny because you always hear people say, like, I'm not going to say specifically what people say, but people say, like, well, I'm like this because it's genetic. I just can't help it. I'm like this, because whatever that means, right? And so it's like, no, you're not like that. It always makes me laugh when people just haphazardly kind of throw it around genetics. And I tell people, wait, hold on. Did you get a blood test that unraveled your DNA helix, and you can find out where on that helix is your genetic code that makes you? No, you didn't. Okay, so how do you know it's genetic? So everyone just throws it around as an excuse to be lazy and do whatever.
Oh yeah, no, it's that's the unfortunate truth, is that like a lot of people try to blame it like their own action. It's the same thing.
Right. By the way,
I'm gonna point something out straight up, because a lot of people say that they're overweight due to their genetics, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything here. So one of my friends, she's a professor in biochemistry. She's actually doing a lot of research when it comes to genetics and, for instance, diabetes and actually being overweight and things like that. There's a minute people that have a mutation, like a tiny fraction of people that have it, that it's actually where they are genetically overweight.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to make it. I know we're not doing this. We're not saying this is not the shit on heavy people show. Again,
no,
I always
not
say,
at all. I'm just
big is beautiful, but is it healthy? I don't know. But I'm also, you mentioned diabetes. My mother, who's a type 2 diabetic, not type 1. My mother's a classic example of this. My mother's like, Anthony, but it runs in the family. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Type 2 diabetes is not running anybody's family.
That's also known as a lifestyle diabetic.
Right. I go, Mom, there's type 2 diabetes in our family, not because it runs in the family. It's because people in our family like to make shitty fucking choices and have
exactly.
I cut that shit out. It drives me fucking nuts. And by the way, if you have a genetic predisposition for something, all the more reason to take care of yourself and not
100%.
I have friends of mine who have. So I have friends of mine. It's interesting. I have a few friends of mine that have multiple sclerosis, MS. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm no doctor. I'm going to assume that's genetics involved somehow, because it's not like type 2 diabetes. You can't eat yourself into MS. So anyways, but I have one person that has MS, and this person took it very seriously and made a drastic change in their lifestyle and is doing very well with their health, actually. And, with medicine, but still drastic health changes, exercise, nutrition, sleep, exercise, doing everything. Really great. The other person with MS is using MS as, well, fuck it, I might as well snort fucking crack and eat cheese doodles all day long, because nothing I can do. And I'm just like, wow, dude, no.
Do you remember when we're talking about like the loser mentality?
Right.
That would be also that you basically give up, or that you give up so you can continue living your destructive lifestyle.
Listen, anything. I mean, I have fucking high cholesterol, lipid. I'm sorry, not cholesterol. High triglycerides. I have high LDL. I have low triglycerides. Anyways, my thing is, I'm gonna do everything I can to keep that shit down. I'm not gonna be like, well, fuck it, I don't know. And I'm gonna go on meds and fuck. And I'm not against meds. But I have another friend who's in my situation, and he sees it the other way. He sees it as, Fuck that. I'm just gonna live on garbage, drink alcohol, and eat fucking garbage, and I'll just pop pills. The fuck, it's genetic. It's genetic. And I'm saying if mine is genetic, I'm gonna fight even harder. You know, it's just funny how people see things differently. But anyway,
Yeah, and also understanding that like so much regarding your lifestyle is connecting how your genetics are actually working. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. So, but let's continue. So what does our genetics do? Our genetics is basically kind of a blueprint on who we are, like
right.
skin color, eye color, hair structure, how tall we will probably end up being,
Right. It's the map,
joint. Yeah,
the
so
code
it's,
book for the life.
yeah, it how our plumbing works, how our potentially how our brain works, and so on. So there's so many things, codes for everything, and it's the same thing. It's kind of amazing how little difference it has to be in genes, and how different, first of all, we as humans, how we look, but also the small changes in between different, yeah, like we can look at like animals or insects or anything like that, that we have what is it, like 99 point something similar genetics
It's
as
apes.
apes. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then like even with like we're super close genetically to pigs.
To rats.
So
Yeah.
no, and it's crazy, and also like in that was interesting. That was during the 90s, I was thinking, when they were doing the Hugo project. Hugo project was basically that they were basically going through the whole human genomics, and coding
Mapping
them,
it.
and mapping it.
Yeah.
And we figured out that they thought it was going to take way longer than it did, because they thought that we're such an evolved species, so we must have a lot of genes. Oh, it's not at all.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, though, what a gene is, so if anybody's wondering what is a gene made out of, a gene is made out of acid. So the acid makes the genes that make proteins, and that acid, the DNA, it's called you go ahead, pronounce it, Magnus.
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Nuclear says that it's because it's located within our cell nucleus, right? So every single cell has our DNA.
Right.
And the DNA is basically mixed into 46 chromosomes. So we have 23 from our mom side and 23 from our dad's side, and then come together. So that's why you can have like the double X chromosome, meaning that you're a female, and the XY, and that's a male, right? Now we're just talking about binary sex, right? So I mean, yeah, of course we have way more definitions and complexity about that, but biologically that's just what we're talking about right now. So I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that yes, I mean these, you know, every cell has this map, this code, and it is amazing that yeah, it's like, again, I'm not telling anybody to believe in any god or God at all, whatever God you worship, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Christian, whatever, Hindu, no God. But I always say this though, when you find out more and more about the human body and the cells and the atoms and the nucleus, I mean, it's just, you can't help but to wonder, there has to be a God. There has to be, and I'm not saying it's Jesus. I'm not saying it's Allah.
It's crazy engineering. Like,
yeah,
and it's
something
so,
must have created this.
Yeah, no, it's very, very fascinating. And to see though what the DNA is connected. So the DNA is connected with base pairs. We have 4 different types of bases. And they're connected. So the one that is called A, or it's like A and T are connected, and then C and G are connected. So going through your and they have this specific alpha helix that's twisted around, and that gets bundled up and gets super compact, so it's actually fits within our cell nucleus and all that. So it's very, very interesting, and the sequence is very, very important. So every 3 base pairs codes for a specific amino acid, and then the amino acids gets put together depending on what they're trying to create. Maybe it's muscle tissue,
Right.
maybe it is it could be ligament, or so everything is coded through this a protein that are regulating something and whatnot. So it's very, very complex.
If viewers are wondering, can humankind manipulate that? Yes.
So it's called mutations.
Right, but scientists are already developing artificial everything, made in a petri dish, but they are.
I mean, right? Like we're able to create like
bladders,
and meat and all that thing, and you using also like other host cells or host
earlobes, everything.
And like you can see like a whole ear that they're able to grow on the back of a specific mice, and it's nuts.
Heart valves. My father has a heart valve that is made. I don't know. Well, they have pig heart valves and they have synthetic, but
but down the road you're basically going to be able to use your own DNA and basically we need to create a new heart or a new lung or
I think that's down the road, not too far. I think it's in our lifetime.
Yes, I'm not surprised. I think that they've gone so far that they've learned so much, and and with AI, unless AI freaking ends up destroying us, that could definitely help up and speed up the process.
Supercomputers.
It's interesting. So figuring out how our brain works more and all that as well too.
And let's talk about epigenetics, because people forget about that, don't know about that, because people think, well, my genetics is my fait accompli, I can't do shit about it, and that's not true. You have a thing called epigenetics where you can shut on or you can shut off or turn on genetics. So you can give yourself a higher chance of XYZ or a lower chance of XYZ by what you do, what you eat, where you are, everything.
Your surrounding and your lifestyle has an effect to that, and it actually like we can look at it like if a gene is turned on or turned off. It's basically when it's turned off, it's expressing itself, so it's actually creating amino acid sequences and things like that because it's working right, and turn off, and then we also see that that genes have different effect if they're turned on together and so on. So it's basically very it's like looking at three-dimensional chess. So there's many things that goes on, and also that's why it's a little bit tricky sometimes, because one gene, like we might need it to express something at certain point, but then it needs to be shut off, and so it's very layered on
everything
a lot of
is
things
linked together.
On. Epigenetics is very, very important to understand, and that's something that we're definitely getting to know more about.
And to give viewers an idea, like what I mean by, like, for instance, at the extreme, epigenetics could be like this. Look, you don't have lung cancer, but you start smoking. Well, smoking triggers the gene to make cancer, and you have lung cancer. So smoking would be an example of epigenetics where you never had cancer there in the lungs, and all of a sudden now you smoke for 10 years or whatever, 5 years, and you have, whatever that. Or you could epigenetics could be also, well, I'm eating broccoli and cauliflower, and I drink water, I don't smoke, I exercise. That's epigenetics to help prevent certain cancers. So that can shut off certain cancer switches, or you can turn them on by smoking and drinking and eating whatever garbage and sitting around. So it's amazing how you have a lot of control.
Another thing, for instance, like that I think that a lot of people can kind of connect to is when we're looking at epigenetics. For instance, if we're strength training, right? Because then your body's like, okay, we're getting exposed to this, and we get micro tears and things like that, and we need to rebuild and get stronger, right? So that is a part of like, okay, your body's like, okay, I need to build more muscle to be able to deal with this stress, right? Or if we have like a skin, like calluses and things like that, to strengthen it up. So that's things that kind of like how it triggers and how the body is trying to protect itself, or in some cases it turns into a disease. So
I just want to say too, though, like, I'm not saying, by all means, I'm not saying that every single disease we can control. Unfortunately,
Mm-mm.
there's sometimes we cannot control diseases, no matter how good you are and how good you eat and exercise. I don't want to say good as a person. I don't mean if you're good or bad, you get something. I mean like how good we eat or exercise. Sometimes shit happens, no matter how well disciplined you are and how much broccoli you eat.
Again,
It's gonna happen. Or you could be a biggest fucking drug user in the world and every alcohol and smoking, and you never get cancer, which is rare.
yeah,
But okay, but
yeah,
yeah. So
no,
sometimes it's bad luck
yeah, no, definitely,
or good luck.
and it's exposure to a lot of things, and also like understanding that like sometimes we have a genetic disease that like
Right.
whatever we are doing to promote our health and live a healthy lifestyle, it it don't matter at the end of the day. Like it could be a heart disease or something like that. Now I'm of course not saying that like live like don't like try to take care of your health, because again you might actually live longer by doing it,
And
but
healthier. Yeah.
yeah, and but
Yeah.
sooner or later it might catch up to you anyway.
Yeah.
So having an understanding of that, but like again, most of genetic diseases are like when people blame it on genetics
Yeah.
are not.
Right.
So
And I guess,
yeah,
like you said, it's layered. It's a 3D chess match because there are certain cancers that you can prevent through eating right and exercise and sleeping
yeah,
right. But then there's certain cancers you can do nothing about. So the thing is not to throw your hands up and say, I'm not going to do shit. You want to control the cancers you can and not get those types of cancers. And certain
yeah.
cancers, you just hope you just don't get. That's kind of more accurate, kind of what goes on, or whatever diseases. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be cancer, it could be
but
whatever.
it's also having an understanding that if your poor lifestyle can trigger, so it starts out with some other disease. It could be that your like immune system is constantly under attack because you get colds and whatnot because you're not sleeping enough and you're not eating healthy and so on and so forth, right? And that could trigger again other things inside your body
Yeah.
because you're not taking care of the basics.
Yeah.
So again, it's extremely complex, but
Yeah.
again, it comes down to it for us. We're not in charge of what goes on inside our bodies all the time. So still, the better situation you put yourself in a better environment
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
body is in, the
Yeah.
better off it's going to
Yeah, I
be.
say, we can control. In my mind, I say we can control 70% of things. Not 100%, but I think we control
Yeah,
slightly more than half.
we control a lot.
Yeah,
We definitely control a lot.
yeah, and I think eventually, maybe in our lifetime, that they'll crack this DNA code stuff, and they'll be able to cure most diseases. Actually, I think that
Yeah,
that are genetic. Well, most diseases are all genetic. All diseases are genetically based. Right? It's DNA, and so yeah, I can see a time when there's no more cancers. There's no more whatever sickle cell, or no more. Well, I don't know, whatever autoimmune diseases. I could
yeah,
see,
yeah,
because we're there. We're at the Holy Grail. We understand. We map the genome. We understand all these diseases come from the map, the genome, and the genes and the genetics. And I think we're on the cusp, this dude. I think it's within. I think within a few decades, I think our grandchildren will be like,
it would be extremely cool to see a breakthrough that like that, and like and unfortunately we might not be the ones that, like, our generation might not be the one
yeah,
that are
maybe our
actually like
grandkids.
can reap the benefits from it. But yeah, younger generations definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the cusp. I don't think it's. I don't think it's 1,000 years away. I don't think it's 100 years away. I think it's like 20 to 30 years away, maybe
Yeah,
40.
but still, that we still need to accept that, like, understand that, like, we still need to be able to, like, perform research and like
Yeah,
continue working with the scientific model and things
yeah.
like that.
By the way, I
And
mentioned sickle cell. I think they cured sickle cell anemia. If I'm not wrong about that.
I
Hold on.
think it's still,
Is there a
unfortunately,
cure for sickle cell anemia? I could have sworn that they had that a cure, but
it's more
uh,
medicine, I think, but that is still a kind of a rough.
oh yeah, no, there's no
Yeah,
cure.
yeah,
Uh,
and the sad part is that sickle cell is mostly, like, the most cases are in countries that are fairly poor.
right.
So it's not a medicine that or cure that would
make a lot of money. Right.
Exactly, and I'm not trying to take a shit on the
No,
pharmaceutical
let's be
business.
honest.
It's just
Pharmaceutical companies are in it for money.
exactly, and it is a sad truth, right? But again, that's why you see a lot of scientists trying to find something that is potentially that could be cheaply produced
Yeah.
and help out a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
So
again,
genes are interesting,
yep.
man. It's a wonderment. It's like I said, if you don't believe in a god or a type of god, I mean, you have to be crazy because all this stuff is just so marvelous and spooky. It's
Yeah.
just like what the hell, So
Yeah, it's again, there's so much that we don't know about our body and how it actually function in our
yeah,
brains
yeah.
and yeah, rest of the universe as well too.
Oh,
But again,
but I think there's, and I think you would agree. We don't even have to look out into outer space. I just put a thing
no,
on Facebook, and you know this, but on our face alone, there is billions of micro bugs that
yeah,
are living, that defecate, that have sex, that fight, all up on our face. And that's you don't even have to go into the jungle. There's a jungle on our face.
yeah,
There's wonderment right on our
and
hands and on our face and our eyes, and
and people might be disgusted about that. I'm like, without them, you would be dead.
you would be dead, right?
Yeah, it's like
the billions of bugs on you.
the symbiotic like kind of lifestyle that we have with microorganisms, like we would not be able to function our like as a species without microorganisms. So
I
like
agree. Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing. That's all I got to say about genes, Magnus. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this?
I think it's kind of cool. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah,
again,
man.
like we are basically a household for millions of different
That's
little
another
critters.
show. Well, maybe another
Yeah.
show coming up. Yeah, that'd be a good show, actually. All right, everyone. Thank you. Like, subscribe. Magnus, as always, thank you. And ladies and
Bye,
gentlemen, check
guys.
back in. I'm going to sign us off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.